there's going to be a lot of attention towards this, and there's going to be something of this that will be with us for years to come. So it would weigh on us the way it would be perceived for all time to come. But I always had this sense of like, oh, when people see this thing, they're going to be reading it for years and years to come. So I had this, you know, very self-absorbed sort of sense that like, oh, I'm making a legend right now.
Well, that's a legend that's talking. The brand new, incredible documentary about one of the most influential comics in history, premiering right here in Chicago tomorrow night. It's called The Legend of Kingdom Come. It tells the story of how Chicago artist Alex Ross teamed up with writer Mark Waid to tell a sweeping, epic story set within the DC universe. Of course, that means Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. We are joined by the movie's producer, Sal Abenati, and the director, Rimzi Atasi. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you.
Jay,
to be here.
Thanks for having us.
I am so excited to talk about this. Not for, for a million reasons, not the least of which is I was telling you guys I'm a huge Alex Ross fan.
You are?
He lives right here, you know, not too far outside Chicago.
Yeah.
I've got framed Alex Ross artwork in my home. So for people, before we even get into Kingdom Come, tell people a little bit about really why they should know Alex Ross, because he's not just big in Chicago, he's big around the world.
He created a painterly, he brought a painterly style to comics, which kind of enhanced, really, you know, kicked the genre way forward. In terms of the 90s, things were getting a little more independent and going the other way, and Alex brought it really an element of fine art into comics.
The line that I always heard that I thought was interesting is he's, I'm going to mess it up, but like the Norman Rockwell of comic book artists, because you see some of his artwork and it just feels so tangible. Like you could almost feel what Superman's cape actually feels like just by looking at his artwork. Now, he was a part of a comic called Kingdom Come, which for people, I cannot stress the importance of this comic. I mean, you could say something like The Boys doesn't exist unless we have something like Kingdom Come. So tell people about the significance of that comic and why it's a story that needs to be told in a documentary.
Well, Kingdom Come, at the time that it came out, you know, comics were moving in a direction in the 90s where there was a lot of speculation and it was a mass kind of comic subculture, but things were going in a darker direction, and in a lot of ways Superman and Batman and these classic DC characters were kind of being neglected or not treated in the way, especially Alex. He looks at the characters in this kind of heroic, idealistic way, and so he approached it in a really new way with his painterly style, kind of bringing the characters to real life that, you know, we would say in the documentary, it has a pretty profound influence on how these characters are interpreted now.
Now, you guys are having a North American premiere tomorrow night right here at Music Box Theater, which is, I was telling you guys, one of my all-time favorite theaters on the planet. But for someone who, one, it's got a great local connection, but for someone who thinks, you know, maybe I don't read comic books, or, you know, comic book superheroes don't mean anything to me, it's more than that. There's a sort of a deeper story. What would you say to someone that says, you know, I don't really follow comic books, so this isn't my thing?
It became such a huge part of our culture in the sense of these are our modern day mythology. And we don't apologize for this stuff. Guys like us, because we grew up with this. But, you know, we found why this was important was it became part of pop culture, Kingdom Come. He brought he brought Superman back to say, no, Superman is cool. It's okay. He doesn't have to be the dark character. We all grew up with Superman, you know, truth, justice, in the American way. But Alex took him into the future and said no. But for the doc, it kind of shows the cultural references as to what we're seeing today, how they really, Kingdom Come had an influence on that.
I always tell people, you know, you date back, thousands of years, they used to tell stories with sequential art on the sides of caves, and this is our generation doing that. So like it's still great stories, whether you flip the pages of a comic book or not. It still is important to our culture.
For sure. We wanted to make it for a general audience, I think, too. Sal is the legacy comic guy. I kind of came in as the filmmaker, and so when I met Alex, that was like my angle was, you know, for comic fans, deep track fans, yes, but also so, you know, for people who maybe aren't as familiar with comics, just love art, love creativity, this is something that they can find an interesting story to.
You know, you make a Mount Rushmore of people who had an influence on comic books, and you're going to put Stan Lee on there, but I think you make a really solid case for Alex Ross on that Mount Rushmore as well.
Agree.
All right, the Legend of Kingdom Come premieres tomorrow night at the Music Box Theater. Tickets, $25. You get a free mini poster with that, and you are encouraged to dress as your favorite character. Gentlemen, if you can't tell, this is an honor for me to have you guys in studio. Congratulations on everything.